Hey guys, we are doing a video tutorial today to kind of teach you how to take notes for all the other video lessons that you're going to be watching. So this is your how-to video, and some things that you're going to need is you're going to need a notebook. So you've got options. A lot of students in my class like to use these ones, the black and white marble ones. Or I have a lot of kids choosing to use the spiral bounds also. It's totally up to you which one you use, but here's kind of the crucial thing is when you open it up, it needs graph paper. So you gotta have the graph paper lines. And actually, personally, I used to use these all the time, but I kind of prefer the spiral notebook because it's easier for me to flip pages. But it's up to you. Just make sure you have a good notebook that you're ready to use for the year. I would also recommend that because there's probably a lot of other students in your classroom watching videos that you get your name on the front of this thing. Use like a permanent marker, maybe ask your teacher, get your name on the front. That way you know it's always yours. Some people like to put their name on the edge right here too. That way when they see their notebook in a stack, they can tell that it's theirs. So if you want to put your name on that edge right there, that would be probably a really great idea. So if you need to right now, you can pause the video and kind of go problem solve how to get a marker or a good pen to write your name, both on this edge and on the front. So go ahead and do that right now. And then once you have that done, I am going to teach you how to take Cornell notes. So let's open up to our first page in our book here today. So Cornell note taking is just a strategy. It's used by a lot of students in college because you take all these big classes in college where you have to take notes and listen to professors, and your job is to write down the important things that they are saying and showing you. And that can be hard to do. So this is a strategy, and something I'm going to use to do my notes today is I'm going to use a ruler. You don't have to have a ruler though. You could use like the edge of a binder, edge of a book. Anything that's a straight edge would work. And we're going to draw some lines in our notebook today. So I recommend that you use a pencil because that way you can erase if you make mistakes. I'll be using a pen and markers, but really I use pens and markers mostly so that you can see it on my screen. If I use a pencil, it's really hard for you guys to see, but you should probably be using a pencil. And first thing I'm going to do is draw a line across the top of my paper somewhere. Now, I'm not going to count the squares. I'm just going to kind of pick an estimate of about an inch down. And I'm going to draw this line all the way across my page. So go ahead and take a pencil and do the same thing, please. Draw a line that goes all the way across your page. And then I'm going to go somewhere, I'm not going to go in the middle, maybe over to the side here and draw a line up and down vertical, just like that. And then I'm going to drop a little ways down and draw another line across, something like this. There we go. Okay, so what are we doing? We're creating sections right now. This top left section is where I'm always going to be writing the date. So go ahead and write date in that corner. This section right here is where I put my topic, the topic. And then this long skinny section right here is where we're going to do our essential question. So essential question, like so. And I'm not done. I need to do one more thing. I need to divide my paper on the side over here. So I think I'm going to line up with this line with my ruler, and I'm going to go all the way down the page to the bottom of the paper here. So kind of like this. Something like this. So what we've got is we've got our notebook all set up, and what we're going to do is kind of go through how we would use this structure to take notes. So the last couple labels that I'm going to include on here is this skinny little section made on the side is for my questions and my main ideas. So questions slash main ideas. Main ideas. Okay, and then this big section, this is where all the notes go, the important stuff, notes. And then I think we're ready to rock and roll. I think we got our notebook all set up. So this is how I set up my notes every single video lesson. So every time you go to watch a new video lesson, what you're going to do is you're going to set up this same structure. And a lot of students will do one on the front, and then they'll flip and they'll do one on the back. That way you maximize on using your space. Don't leave the back blank. If you do that, you're going to have a lot of wasted space in your notebook, and you're going to find yourself using like 3 or 4 of these in a whole entire school year. So you might want to kind of keep that in mind and use your front and your back. But every day when like my students sit down to watch a video lesson, they set this up for that day and set up that lesson. And it is your responsibility, you're the student, your job is to figure out what the date is today. And I'm going to guess since you're on a device, that should be easy to figure out. So for instance, right now I am making this on March 23rd. Today is the date. I had to look and see. So I'm going to write March 23rd. But you're probably watching this video on a different date, so you would write whatever today's date is yourself. Now, the topics section, this is where I correlate it to what book we're using in class. So for our class, we're using the Big Red Ideas book, the Big Ideas book, and it's red. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to relate it to the chapter and the topic. So for instance, I'm going to kind of make this up. I might write 2.4. 2.4. And what that means is it tells you that, hey, we're in chapter 2 and we're working on section 4. And that way, when you're going through your notes, if you're looking at this page and you're like, what part of the book is this from? Oh, it's chapter 2, section 4. And you could go flip open the book. You could go to chapter 2. You could go to section 4. And you could find problems that relate to these notes. So that's a helpful thing to have. That's that chapter and that topic. So I'm going to put a little note under here. This is the chapter. And this is the section. Now, if you're watching these video lessons and you're not using the same book as we are in class, that's okay. Or if the book has changed to something new that your teacher or you are using, that's okay too. Like the topic is just a helpful tool for those of you that are using the red book. And then we've got the essential question. And the essential question is, what's the goal of the day? What are we trying to answer and learn? So usually it's going to be mathematical, like how can I use integers to solve real problems in life? Or how can I calculate the area of a triangle? Those are essential questions. How can I find the circumference of a circle? How can I multiply 2-digit numbers? Those are all essential questions. For today's video, our essential question probably is, how can I take good Cornell notes? So, how can I organize my Cornell notes? Cornell notes. Question mark. That's the goal of this video. Now, if you're an AVID student or you know what AVID is, then you know that this is a note-taking style that you're going to be using for your AVID class as well. And a lot of AVID teachers will print out Cornell note papers. For our class, I really want you using graph paper, so I'm going to highly recommend that instead of using those printouts, get permission from your AVID teacher that you can take your notes in your math notebook, and then you can just take your math notebook to your AVID class when you need it. That's pretty simple to do. But make sure you check with your teacher, your AVID teacher, and make sure that's okay. And then down below, this is where we do the heavy work, the notes for the day. So things that we're practicing, example problems, those all go over here. Questions and main ideas are where we do like vocabulary words, or maybe you're taking notes and you're like, I have a question about that. I don't understand something. You'd write your question over on the side over here. So that's kind of what this bottom space is for. And to be honest, when you start watching your tutorial videos and you start doing some note taking, most of this space is going to be filled in. This is where you're going to do the hard work. So for today, what could we put over there? Well, we could put a few different things. How about this? We're going through strategies. So first off, we're going to make a bullet list here of what makes nice organized notes. So what do nice notes have? All right, what do nice notes have? Well, I think nice notes are readable. I think for those of you that struggle with your penmanship and your handwriting, if you go back and you can't read your own notes, then they're not really useful to you. So they need to be easy to read. Easy to read. You could say legible. What else would make good notes? Well, It's nice when they have the date and the topic so that you can refer back to like when you took those notes and where to go find information. So it's nice to have a date and a topic. Let's see, what else would make some good notes? Well, it is good when you can think of some questions to write over here. Like if you're like, I'm wondering how I could apply this in the real world. That's a good reflection tool right there, is to reflect and ask those questions. So nice notes have questions that you may have. You're going to notice in the tutorial videos that we do a lot of what I call you try problems, where I'm going to give you a problem and I'm going to ask you to freeze and pause your device and try it by yourself. Those are your opportunities to learn from your mistakes. So I'm going to highly recommend that when you get to a you try problem that you follow the directions and you pause that device and you try it yourself, because then it's kind of like you're testing yourself to see if you're getting down the material that you're learning that day. So really try those you tries. Make sure you're pausing your device and going back. I call them you try problems. And that's kind of a nice little idea. I'm going to put that over here as a main idea. Main idea here is when you're watching the video notes, you can pause your device whenever you want. That's pretty cool. That means if I'm going really fast on a topic and you're like, whoa, 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 she's going too fast, pause me. You can stop me. You can rewind me. You can re-listen. If I'm flying through a problem and you're like, I can't keep up, I'm trying to get this all written down nicely so it's easy to read. Well, then just pause the device and go at your speed. That's the really cool thing about video notes. In class, it's hard to do because a lot of times teachers will go at one speed and you might not always want to like raise your hand and slow the teacher down. But with the device, you go at your own speed and that's totally fine. I also have a lot of students who like to listen twice. So they re-listen. Some of them like to listen one time all the way through and they just sit back and they watch the video and they don't write anything. And then the second time they go through, they write all of their notes. Or I have some students that are kind of vice versa. They go through and take all their notes first and then they go back and just sit and kind of listen. And it's their chance when they're re-listening to go through their notes and be like, did I miss anything? Do I need to go fix something? So that's a strategy also. It's also great for test taking preparation. Like if you know you have a big test coming up or there's something in class you really want to study, maybe you're retesting on something. These videos are tools for you to go back and re-listen and relearn. So you can always re-listen and you can always relearn by rewatching. Rewatch. It's kind of cool because you might watch a video in September and you might kind of have it down, and then come November, December, you forgot it and you've lost that information. You can go back and watch the video again. And rewatching it's going to help you kind of jog that memory, maybe reinforce something that you learned before. Okay, so that is kind of the general note-taking strategy. It looks kind of like this: date, topic, essential question, questions and main ideas that you come up with, and then the notes where you're going to do most of the writing. Please follow along in those tutorial videos. If I'm writing something down, you're probably supposed to also be writing it down. And there's going to be some videos where I don't have an essential question. My older videos, I don't have as many essential questions written. So you're going to have to write the essential question yourself. If I don't give you the question in the video, then you got to go figure out what it is. And I would recommend like watch the whole video and go back and write your question. And there's going to be a lot of videos where I just give you the question and it'll be all set up. Here's some ways that I've kind of cheated, and it's not really cheating, but I take a lot of Cornell notes because I teach a lot of classes. So I have some like pre-printed out versions I've made on my computer. So you'll see me in some of the videos use this. It's not cheating, it's just I take so many video notes and do so many Cornell note-taking rounds that I just need some shortcuts. So I'll use these a lot. When you see me put this up on the screen, this is a perfect opportunity where you could be like, I'm going to pause my device, grab my notebook, and take a few minutes by myself to set up my Cornell notes. I've also had some students that like to kind of work ahead. They'll take the notebook home and over the weekend go through 10 different pages, flip through their pages, and they'll Cornell note set up 10 different pages. And then they're like, oh, my notes are ready to go, so I can watch the video. That's totally up to you and kind of your strategy. Some of my videos I'm using a lot of electronic devices. So like I'm using like Keynote or PowerPoint and things like that. And those ones I try to have all the Cornell notes set up ahead of time. Let me show you a version of what that looks like. So here I just pulled up an example. Here's an example of one where I've made it on a Keynote. So you can see my dates blank because you're watching this video on any day or time potentially. So you're gonna have to just figure out what's the date for you. But I've got my topic 4.2, so I know that this is a chapter 4, section 2 video. And there's that essential question already ready for me. How can you use addition or subtraction to solve an inequality? So what you're going to do in these situations is you're going to start the video lesson, pause it, get your notebook all set up, copy that essential question, put that date on there, that topic, and then when you're ready to rock and roll, you're going to hit play and start watching the video and doing your notes. In class, it depends on your teacher, but you might be having notebook checks where we're going to be looking for like, how neat and legible is your notebook? Are you writing everything down? Are you doing the you try problems, writing essential questions? Are you remembering the date? So it's really important, and I think you're going to find that at the end of the year, you'll be really proud of your notebooks. Lots of students save them and take their notebooks to the next grade level because they find out that, hey, next year when I'm working on a skill and you're like, dang it, I learned that last year in that video, you can look it back up. So it's kind of nice to do that. And it's great practice. It kind of preps you for high school classes and college classes where you're really independently on your own having to take notes. Okay, so I think that's enough of a lecture on how to take notes. I'm going to flip back screens here again. So just a quick summary here. We want to make good organized notes, and if you need to use a ruler to draw your lines, that's cool. You can use a ruler, a straight edge, a binder edge, a book edge. Even the edge of this would work as a ruler. So just find something straight so that you don't have these like wobbly, messy lines. Make sure you have the date, the topic, the essential question, the main ideas, and then the notes. So 5 different sections. And thanks for watching, guys. I hope this helps. Enjoy all those math tutorial videos. See ya.